Katana Zero is a game, more specifically a hardcore 2D platformer, hack and slash, and sometimes dancing simulator. Katana Zero, like most good games, has a plot. Unlike this one. It also has a speedrunning community. However, I choose not to touch that because I do, in fact, take showers. If you like government conspiracies mixed with mystery, then this game will butter your biscuits. Let me elaborate. What sets Katana Zero apart from your ordinary 2D platformers you remember as a child is its gameplay. You play as a character named Zero. His weapon of choice, you might have guessed, it's a katana. It's like it's in the name. However, if you think this is all that defines the game, you are mistaken. There are indeed mechanics in this game. Zero, due to a rampant substance abuse problem enabled by his psychiatrist, has the ability of precognition. This might be a HIPAA violation. This drug allows Zero to deflect and dodge bullets. He can also do this outside of combat, but let's be honest, who wouldn't want to slow time? He can also roll out of the way of projectiles and has vertical movement. This is a 2D platformer after all. Zero also makes use of throwable items, each achieving a different effect when used, but most tend to be lethal. However, outside of these mechanics, what makes this game fun is that one hit will kill you, thus resetting the level, which the way this is cleverly explained is that he comes back via his ability to use his precognition, perceiving the future until he finds a suitable outcome. After each level you successfully clear, it replays the level at normal speed from the perspective of a security camera. I don't know what security is doing, but if I was them, I would quit. Spoilers ahead for this next section. You have been warned. This next part of the video, I hit what the cool kids call writer's block. And by that, I mean I spent 3 to 4 days trying to figure out how to comprehensively retell the story of this game in a fashion where it balanced the seriousness of the game's plot while also being funny. But I spent too much time trying to be linear with my version of the storytelling, so I said fuck it and got rid of most of what I wrote when I realized I was taking this project too seriously. So instead, I will do this in the most unconventional way I can. You play as a character named Zero, a mercenary for hire who fought in a war. Most of what you know about your past is foggy. However, you are plagued by a recurring nightmare of a child playing catch. As the story progresses, and as your employer gives you more and more contracts, the more details that are revealed in your recurring nightmare. This is discussed during your sessions with your employer. Most of your contracts revolve around people who have ties with the new mecha government in some fashion, and your job is to silence them and to not ask any questions. It's not shady business because my employer said so. However, I don't like following conventional methods, so I choose to in fact not do things the intended way. The game has a rewarding mechanic where you can interrupt dialogue and spam your way through important cutscenes. However, if you are patient, you can choose different dialogues to uncover more details and motives, thus expanding on world building, incentivizing you to not skip any dialogue if you actually care about the story, which if you're watching this, I would assume you do. As you progress through the story, you learn more about the government's scheme during what is referred to as the Cro-Mag War, and during each and every contract you unveil more and more of the truth. The creation of a drug called Kronos, which aided in the creation of government super soldiers who have the ability of precognition. These soldiers fought during the war in special squadrons, and in some cases they were given the drug since childhood to hone and to fully develop their abilities during combat. These kids were designated Gamma status and are the pinnacle of the Null Project. As you play more and more, you learn more of the truth of what happened to some of the members of Null, and how the government ultimately threw away all the members of Null after using them as tools with no regard to the side effects of the drug they gave to their soldiers, and the utterly horrifying fate it leaves them to. You even get insight into new mecha's treatment of their soldiers from the perspective of their regular veterans, and how the protests from the wealthy and rich ultimately caused the government to pull out of the war, causing a divide between the veterans and the civilian population. Thanks, John Lennon! As you reach the end of the story, you are greeted with tons of analogies and moral dilemma, and at one point you were offered a true death detached from the fate of Kronos, or to keep fighting and try to get closer to the truth, and ultimately get revenge against the government that created you. However, doing so sacrifices the person you hold dear. Choosing to die ends the game right then and there, giving Zero a true death. However, choosing the latter will give us the final piece of the puzzle to our nightmare, and completely unravels the truth of it. I will let this speak for itself. This game is a masterpiece, and as you might have caught on, is a treasure trove of allegories parallel to our own world. From the storytelling to the gameplay and even the music, which does a spectacular job capturing the mood in each and every moment perfectly, especially here, my words do not do this game enough praise, and my retelling doesn't do it enough justice. The only way to truly experience this game to its fullest is to play it yourself. But for now, this is where Zero's story ends. Well, sort of.